All right. So, first off, gentle reminder if you have not done so yet, make sure you take your exams. They are due by midnight tonight. So if you haven't done so, just make sure you do that. Same with all the quizzes and all that kind of stuff. We just need to make sure that we get all that stuff done. Now, that being said, now we are on to the integumentary system. So from now on, it's basically going to be a system every day or even every couple of days. Okay. Which means we have a little bit more time to soak some stuff in. However, this also means that we will likely be going into a fair bit of depth on these. Okay. Now, the first system we're going to talk about is the integument. It's basically just going to be the skin. Now, whenever we start thinking about the various systems, I want you to automatically start to think about what you already know about your skin. Okay. So what do you already know about the functions of our skin? So what are some of the things that we expect the skin to do? What are some things that we know we need the skin to do? Okay. How? But protect us from what? Pathogens, cold. Those are two very different things. And what it has to do to be able to protect us against pathogens is very different from how it protects us from getting too cold. Okay, what else? So we have temperature regulation, pathogens. All right, what else? Okay. So yes, we do have blood vessels and all that kind of stuff in our skin. That's also going to be part of our temper regulation. So part of helping us stay cool or stay warm is going to be part of our temper regulation there. But protecting it, like we have other things to protect from other than just pathogens, right? We need in terms of protection. So we'll just kind of put a little blanket here. So protection. We need to be protected from more than just pathogens. So what are some other things we might need to be protected from?
Bacteria?
Bacteria falls under the pathogens line. So this would be things like bacteria, viruses, etc., fungi, all that fun stuff. All right. So what else?
Dirt.
Dirt.
Would that be considered a pathogen?
Well, the reason we are scared of dirt is because of potential pathogens. Because there could be bacteria in the soil that could get into our skin and cause an infection that way. But what about that? That's just abrasion, right? Like I can sit here and do this for a while and I'm not bleeding. I'm not messing up my muscles or anything like that, right? So we need protection from abrasion. So wear and tear, right? That is an important thing. What about the sun? Water. Those are both other big things that we need protection from, right? Sunlight can scorch organs and stuff like that. We don't want to dry up, right? So we need to hold on to water. So we need to be protected from desiccation by something like the sun or just heat. Okay. We also need to be protected from water. There is such a thing as having too much water. We have a waterproof barrier or water resistant barrier on the outside of our skin to make sure that we're not taking too much water. So we have lots of things that we need to be protected from. Okay. So now we need to be worried about how. Okay. So we have these functions. We also have a couple of other things we need to be able to do vitamin D synthesis and a couple of other things. But basically, we have a protective barrier, so basically protecting us from all of the various aspects of the outside world. We need to be worried about temperature regulation. We need to be worried about vitamin D synthesis. So now we just need to simply ask ourselves how we are going to do that. Now, whenever we say integumentary system, the first thing that we're going to think about is going to be our skin. However, we also have lots of other accessory structures associated with the skin. We have our nails, we have our hair, and we have glands, namely our sweat glands and our sebaceous glands. So when we say the integumentary system, we're not just including the skin, we're also adding in all of those accessory structures. Now, when we look at the skin, we've got two primary layers of the skin. We have the epidermis, which is the superficial layer, so the outermost layer, and then we have the dermis, which is going to be deep to that. So the epidermis is going to be up here. Then we have the dermis down here. Now below that, we have what we call the subcutaneous layer, or the hypodermis. The hypodermis is going to be mostly going to contain things like blood vessels and fat. Now, it is technically not part of the skin, but we're going to talk about it with the skin just to make sure that we can kind of keep it all together, because it does make a lot more sense to do it that way. Now, different layers of the skin are going to be composed of different tissues. As you can see, they look different. They're also trying to do different things, which means we're going to have different tissue bases for them. We're also going to find different structures in these various tissues. I want you to look right now and notice that the epidermis contains some layers of stratified squamous epithelia, and that's really about it. All of the other complicated structures are going to be found down here in the dermal layer, so in the actual dermis, not in the epidermis. But the epidermis, like I said, is the most superficial layer, and it's going to be composed primarily of the main cell type that we're going to find in the epidermis is going to be keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. That should sound very familiar, okay? So stratified squamous, which means we have multiple layers of fried egg-shaped cells, okay? Keratinized means that they're going to be filled with keratin, and that some number of these layers is going to be composed of dead cells, okay? Where we've lost the nucleus, and they're basically just going to be a baggie of membrane that is filled with the keratin protein, okay? Keratin is very, very, very tough. Don't believe me? Try and just kind of pluck out one of your hairs and see how hard it is to break, okay? It's tough, okay? Keratin is the same stuff that is like, these cells then are going to be filled with the same stuff that your hair is made out of, that your nails are made out of. The stuff is incredibly strong. So if you take 20 layers of nothing but this stacked on top of one another, it's going to create a fairly tough barrier. One of the main ways that we generate most of this protection is going to be because of these layers of these keratinized cells, okay? Now, we're going to label these layers from 1 to 5. So we have 5 primary layers in the epidermis. We're going to go from deep to superficial. It's going to be basal, spinosum, granulosum, lucidum, and then corneum. Okay, so we're going to look at these first. Oh, it's not showing us pictures. Of course not. All right, so the first of these layers is the basal layer. In this layer, we have 3 different types of cells. We have keratinocytes, which are the ones we've already talked about. So these are basically going to be cells that are producing keratin. Then we have melanocytes. Well, these are going to be cells that are going to be producing melanin, okay? And then we've got tactile cells. Tactile cells are important because these are going to let us sense what is happening in the epidermis. So these are going to be our sense of touch, okay? Now, keratinocytes, like I said, are main cells throughout the entire epidermis. These are going to be found in all of our layers. We're going to see a little bit of change in shape, but once we get more superficial, they will basically all just be that fried egg shape, okay? In the basal layer, they're not quite fried egg shape. In the basal layer, they're going to be almost cuboidal looking. But whenever this cell divides, it's going to end up making a daughter cell that is its same shape, kind of stays down here. And the other daughter cell will get pushed up towards the surface, and it will have a slightly less distinct shape. As these cells get pushed further or closer and closer to the surface, they will become more of our kind of amorphous fried egg shape until eventually they die because they get too far away from our blood vessels. So say we have blood vessels down here. They get too far away, so the cells die. And at this point, they're basically just a little baggie that's going to be filled with keratin, no nucleus. Okay, so these cells are dead. But as we move away from the basal layer, as we move away, we're going to be changing our shape. So we're naming them basically for the shape of the cells at the surface. Okay. But like I said, we're making keratin is what's keep making everything nice and tough. Now, melanocytes are going to be another cell down here. These melanocytes are fun. They're going to have these kind of arms kind of reaching away from them. But they're also going to be filled with a bunch of dark dots. Okay. Namely, these dark dots are going to be our melanin. Now, the melanin is important because what we're going to do is we're basically going to take these little packets of melanin and we're going to use them to protect the nuclei of our cells. So we're going to put melanin in front of the nuclei of our cells so that we are protecting the DNA inside those cells. Okay. Now, most everybody produces some amount of melanin. Different people are going to produce different amounts. This is based off of several different genetic factors, like multiple genes involved. Okay. Also, people say melanin like it's actually one thing, and it's not at all. Okay. It's a couple of different chemical compounds. We have some that are going to be very, very dark to the point where they're going to be ranging anywhere from kind of brown to black. And then we have a couple of other melanins, which are going to be slightly more yellow or slightly more red. Okay. All of these together are our melanin compounds. And like I said, we're going to have variance from person to person on how much of these we are making. Then we can take in additional stuff like UV radiation. You expose some people to UV radiation, and all of a sudden they will increase their melanin production. Someone that goes from producing a lot of melanin normally, you expose them to a bunch of UV light, so say sunlight, and they will go from producing a lot to producing a ton, okay? To the point where their skins will be almost black, okay? Now, other folks, like me, don't produce hardly much melanin at all. And when I do, it's red. I don't tan. I tan like a lobster tans. I just turn red, okay? It's bad, okay? That's unfortunately just how it works. Okay, and I mean turn red even if I don't have a sunburn. Like my skin just will turn reddish as I'm tanning. Like I do produce a little bit of eumelanin, but very, very little. Most of the color that you see here is actually just damaged because my skin is somewhat fair, which is obnoxious considering I love to be outside, which is fun. I've sunburned in January before. I'm that kind of person. I also like I use the SPF 100. Like that, if it's less than 70, I will still burn through it. I have burned through SPF 50. It's obnoxious when you like to do things like hunt and fish and expose yourself to the elements. It's makes things fun. Don't do that though. Wear your sunscreen because melanin, while it does a good job, it is not perfect. Okay. Another fun thing is if you do produce a fair bit of melanin, so say you tan really easily or you just have darker skin to begin with, this does not mean that you are immune to UV radiation. It does not mean that your skin is going to be perfectly protected and that you cannot get skin cancer. What it does mean is that when you do get skin cancer, it's harder to see. It is harder to tell that it is there, which means it will be at a higher level and will have progressed further usually by the time that you find it. Okay, so you still, if you have melanin, you still need to go get your skin checked by a dermatologist every year or so to make sure that things are staying the way that they're supposed to stay and that you're not having too much damage occur later. Because I have heard of people with very dark skin still ending up with advanced stages of skin cancer and stuff like that they just didn't know was there because their skin was dark so they couldn't see it. Like had a buddy of mine have to have like a quarter size patch of skin taken off of his cheek because of cancer on dark skin. No fun. All right. Also, like I'm 40 and I still have to go see a dermatologist every year. So like I'm not that old. So you should probably start that kind of stuff fairly soon too. Just saying. Now we also have tactile cells. Tactile cells are fun because these are going to be some little onion-shaped cells down here. That are going to allow us to sense touch. Whenever these get compressed, that's whenever they're going to send a signal out that says, hey, we have been touched. So these are going to be very important. They're close to the surface of the skin, which means they're very, very sensitive. So we're going to use those to sense things like texture on objects that we're touching. Now, the next layer is going to be the stratum spinosum. That's going to be this layer here, okay? The stratum spinosum is mostly going to be made out of those keratinocytes. Our one new cell that we see out here is going to be called our epidermal dendritic cells. So remember when we looked at the neurons last week, how we had cell body, and then we had these kind of feeler regions kind of reaching out around here, and we called those dendrites. The same thing is going to be true for our epidermal dendritic cells. These are dendrites. And we have a cell that is in the epidermis that has dendrites. So epidermal dendritic cell. Okay. Don't make this more complicated than it has to be. Okay. Now, our next layer up is the stratum granulosum. Notice that we go from having nice, pretty distinct nuclei to all of a sudden the nuclei get less distinct and the cells get really dark. The cells get really dark because our nuclei are breaking up. Everything is breaking up in these cells. Okay. So once we get up here to the stratum granulosum, we take our cells and we start to kind of break apart those nuclei and we break apart all of the other things inside the cell that are not keratin. So we're going to be left with a bunch of these little dots or granules. Because we have granules, we're going to call those granulocytes, or thus the stratum granulosum, because we have a stratum or a layer filled with granules. So thus stratum granulosum. Now, the next layer is very fun, and the next layer is actually only going to be found in thick skin. Okay, so we're only going to find this next layer in the palms of our hands and the soles of our feet. That's it. So only in the palms of your hands, base of your fingers, and all that kind of stuff. So palm side, and then the bottom of your feet. So the two areas that are going to be subject to the most abrasion, the most friction. These layers we're going to call the stratum lucidum. Stratum lucidum. So we're going to call it the stratum lucidum because these are clear. Okay, so lucid thought is clear thought, right? So this clear thought is going to be what we call the stratum lucidum because they are clear. Now, the cells are not empty. Instead, they're going to be filled with a clear protein that we call eledin. So E-L-E-I-D-E-N. Okay, or I-N. Eledin. This eledin is incredibly tough. So by putting these few layers of clear cells containing eledin right here, we have an incredibly tough layer of skin. Sometimes we get special little friction areas where we're going to push a whole lot of these cells together because we're putting a lot of force on them over and over and over again in very particular patterns. Where instead of it being 3 layers thick, like it is in most of it, instead we'll get a layer that is incredibly thick. And it's filled with nothing but this clear protein. It's not clear liquid, it's clear protein. Anyone know what we might call that? Like I said, from repeated stress in a particular spot? No? How might, like, have none of y'all done something like put repeated stress on the palms of your hands in a particular place? Like say when you're lifting weights or playing baseball or softball or guitar. What happens? You form calluses. It starts as blisters. And then you keep doing it and you fill those blisters instead with eledin. You form calluses. The calluses that you form from repeated friction are basically going to be a really, really thick spot of this stratum lucidum. You can actually see one right here. See how this whole area right here is clear? Basically what happens is you put a bunch of stress right here and it pushes all of those cells down kind of into this cavity. So you end up filling all of this with that stratum lucidum. So you have a callus. Also, this is why if you've ever broken into a callus, you'll notice that it just it never gets soft. You keep scratching and pulling off layers, and it's still just this really hard, clear stuff. That really hard, clear stuff is that protein that we're talking about. Now, above that, we finally have the most superficial layer, which is the stratum corneum. So that's going to be all this stuff out here. Stratum corneum, it's anywhere from 5 to 30 cell layers deep, depending on which type of skin we're in. If we are in something like, say, the skin of the forearm, it's going to be very thin. If we're on the palms of our hands, it'll be thicker. You subject more of these places to more of these frictions, and you'll actually end up making thicker stratum corneums in those places too. Okay, so someone that uses their hands a lot, like someone that does manual labor, spends a lot of time outside doing that kind of stuff, they will have thicker skin on the palms of their hands than someone that does not. Okay, so they will have built up a thicker layer of the stratum corneum on the outside to help them deal with all of that friction and stuff like that. Like, y'all, if you want to find somebody with some really thick skins on the palms of their hands, shake hands with a rock climber. Like someone that climbs rocks, the skin on their outside of their hands is just absurd. It feels like you're shaking someone's hand when they have a glove on. Yep.
Shook his hand, it felt like
Thick, dense, and rough. All right. So we've talked about thick skin, thin skin. So here we have an example of thin skin where we have just a few layers of our stratum corneum up here. We have no stratum lucidum, stratum granulosum, spinosum, everything like that looks the same. Basal layer looks the same. Over here we have thick skin, basal, spinosum, granulosum. See all the dots, see how it's kind of dark. Here we see a thin band of our stratum lucidum, and then this is all stratum corneum. From 5 to 40. Okay, so lots of variance between our thick skin and our thin skin. And once again, the stresses that we're placing on our skin can change this stuff too. Backpackers, like if you see people that like hike really long distances, or even like people in the military after they're rucking and stuff for a while, they'll actually form like the skin right here on their shoulders, like where their pack weight sits, will get thicker. And you'll find these kind of thick, rough spots on their skin as well. Just simply to help deal with the friction from the backpacks and stuff. All right, now, some fun things happen with our skin. We're gonna form some kind of weird skin markings on or in our epidermis. You may have heard of freckles. These are basically just little localized areas of having extra melanocytes. So yellowish or brown basically is just gonna depend on what type of melanin they're producing. Here we can have some hemangiomas. These are those benign tumors that can occur in some of our blood vessels. So Angie tells us that it's in a blood vessel. Because these are kind of out here and exposed, they can end up with causing some skin discoloration just simply because we're in a fairly thin part of the skin, so you can see through it. We'll also have fun friction ridges. Underneath our epidermis, we're going to see the dermis. They're going to be connected in a layer that we call the papillary region. Papillary means finger-like projections. So we're basically going to have these finger-like projections of epidermis and dermis linking themselves together. So we get lots and lots of surface area between those two things. So we have a really strong connection between the two layers. But because we have these finger-like, or these ridges of dermis kind of protruding into the epidermis, sometimes we'll actually see that protrude out of the surface of the epidermis as well in particular patterns. And we're going to see this particularly in sometimes in our palms, or a little bit in our palms, but especially on the ends of our fingers. We have really, really big ridges here. So we have really strong connections, but also so that we can generate extra friction with our fingertips. Okay. Your ability to grab onto stuff is in large part due to these friction ridges here. They basically roughen the surface of your skin so you can actually get extra grab onto objects. Okay. Now, ours may not feel like you get that much extra friction, but you'd be surprised how much extra friction these things can add. Some animals will actually take this to an absurd degree. Geckos, for instance, have special friction ridges on their skin that extend to the molecular level, or at least the cellular level, to where these ridges, so they have these, and then these ridges will have little ridges on those, and then those little ridges will have ridges on those, all the way down to the cellular level. So you look at them and they basically just have this like little feather-like pattern on the outsides of their digits. So they have a ridiculous amount of surface area, which means they can literally climb upside down. I don't mean that they can grab onto something and apply force like vertically onto it with very little force. No, I mean, they can literally take something that is flat, like a pane of glass, and climb it. They can generate enough friction with all of these little ridges on their skin that they can climb upside down. But in order for them to do so, they literally have to walk their hands funny so that they can basically unapply the pressure so that they'll unstick from the objects. They generate so much friction, they actually have to change the way they move their hands to do that. So if you've ever seen like a gecko climbing on something, they move their hands weird, that's why. It's because they're basically having to let go of the Velcro that's on the bottoms of their fingers. So much cooler than people. We get fingerprints and they can climb upside down like they're freaking Spider-Man. All right, so then we get into the dermis. The dermis we have down here, we're going to start this in what we call the dermal papillae. Okay, so those are those epidermal ridges there. So like I said, they'll sometimes extend out through the epidermis for friction. Okay, but down here is where we're going to find lots of other fun structures. We have in the papillary layer, we have areolar connective tissue. So this, remember, has collagen running in lots of different directions. So we get a lot of strength in a lot of different directions. This way that we cannot separate the epidermis from the dermis. Sorry, my 5-year-old's back there sick, so I'm making sure he's not running away. Last time I brought him up here, he did. He ended up on the second floor and like couldn't find his way back to my office, which was terrifying. Yeah. Now, then we have the reticular layer. The reticular layer is going to be composed of dense, irregular connective tissue. So remember that the dense, irregular connective tissue had these little kind of patterns of collagen fibers where these were all running in different directions. So once again, we get strength in lots of different directions. So our dermis is going to be where we're going to get a lot of the strength of the skin, making sure that it does not come separate, or so that we cannot separate the epidermis from the dermis, and so that we still have a nice protective barrier for all the stuff that the epidermis is protecting, or that the skin itself is protecting. Now, we're also going to find lots of other structures down here. Namely, we've got some sensory receptors. So whether it's sensing deep pressure or vibration, we've got other sensory receptors up here that are going to be sensing light touch. We'll have other sensory receptors kind of in the dermis that are going to sense stretch. So all of this is to say that we have lots of sensory receptors so that we know what is going on. Okay, we know what is happening in our skin and on our skin at all times. Now, we're also going to see all of the blood vessels for the skin here in the dermis, not in the epidermis. So we're going to find a bunch of little capillary beds up here in those dermal papillae so that we can get lots of blood very, very, very close to the epidermis without actually having to be in the epidermis. So the epidermis can stay very, very strong, while also at the same time, if it gets too far away from the blood supply of the dermis, the cells will die, which is what happens right here at our stratum granulosum. We start to get too far away, the cells aren't getting all the nutrients that they need, and the cells will start to die off. Okay. And then finally, once we get to the stratum corneum, the cells are just all dead. We'll also find our hair follicles here. So we have hairs, we have muscles attached to those, and then finally we've got some glands like our sebaceous glands here, so attached to the hair follicles. And then finally we've got sweat glands in here as well. Now, the collagen and elastin, like I said, are going to run in every direction, so we get a lot of strength in every direction, but we will see some general patterns. Okay. The general patterns that we're going to see are basically going to be these long bundles of collagen that will continue over long stretches, which means we're going to get a lot of strength in those areas. So they're going to resist stress during kind of routine movements. However, they're going to be strong in particular directions because of some of these bundles moving long distances. So what that means is that the orientation of these fibers will actually lead to some stress in some of these places. So if you take a word to get cut, so like these are what we call the cleavage lines here. So basically we have a general bit of pull because of, or from those collagen fibers in this kind of lateral direction right here in kind of the midsection. So if you were to get a cut that was vertical, which is to say perpendicular to these lines of cleavage in one of these areas, what you'll end up with is the pull of the collagen fibers that's very strong in this lateral direction is actually going to cause those wounds to pucker open. They're going to keep trying to stretch these wounds open, okay? Whereas if you were to get a cut that was parallel to these cleavage lines, the cleavage lines are actually going to help those wounds kind of stay closed or help the skin stay closed around these. Now, this also means down to treatment that these lines matter as well, because these collagen fibers are putting a lot of stress on this particular wound here. Something like a Band-Aid is going to have a whole lot harder time keeping this wound closed. Stitches would also have a hard time keeping this wound closed. They're just not going to be strong enough, and they'll sometimes cause the skin to tear. So what you'll find is that in a case like this, instead of just using stitches, they will close this instead with staples. So if you've ever wondered why someone used staples for one case and stitches in something else, usually it's because of the direction of the cut. It's not that the cut was any deeper for the thing requiring staples. Instead, it's that we had some sort of cut perpendicular to these cleavage lines. So the cleavage lines are going to keep trying to tear that wound open. And something like stitches would have a harder time holding it closed. This one down here, stitches would close it just fine. This one right here, stitches wouldn't close it very well. So you'd usually close this with staples. I have really bad luck. I've had staples 5 or 6 different times. I've only had stitches once. Just because, like I said, I'm really unlucky. Tattoos are basically going to be placed into our dermis. We are constantly replacing all of these cells up here, which means if I were to take a bunch of ink and just put it even down to here, that ink would eventually find its way into this cell and then here and just slowly work its way toward the surface until finally it's gone. It may take a while, but it would eventually go away, okay? And actually would take a surprisingly short amount of time. So if you want to get some sort of alteration to the skin, we actually need to get it down here into the dermis, because connective tissue cells do not replace themselves very quickly. And importantly, they're also not replacing themselves in this sort of vertical manner, like we see up here in our epidermis. So this is how tattoos work. Tattoos work by basically taking the needles and injecting the dye down here into the dermis, where all the changes in the epidermis in the world aren't going to affect the actual dermis itself or the dye down there. Now, modern tattoo dyes, or inks rather, are actually made to be removed. Okay, so they're basically made to allow removal a little bit easier than some of the old ones were. They basically use some like UV light and vibrations and stuff like that to mess them up. Now, all of this is to get us to those different functions that we had before. So we have protection from the external environment. So we need protection from injury. How do we get protection from injury? Well, because we have a whole bunch of cell layers in the stratum corneum. We have more cell layers in the stratum lucidum to help protect from abrasion and friction in places like our thick skin. We protect from UV radiation. How do we protect from UV radiation? Well, we do that with the melanin that we produce. We are going to protect from microbes by having, well, a whole lot of layers of dead cells on top. Now, to make things even more fun, the sebaceous glands that are on the outsides of our hairs, they're going to secrete a lovely substance called sebum, which smells really bad and is basically oil, or can smell bad if bacteria and stuff do get into it. But it's oil that's going to keep our hairs nice and moist and keep those things nice and glossy, but it's also going to help put a thin layer of oil on our skins, which is good to help hold all those little baggies of keratin together. It's also very important for feeding the good bacteria that are on our skin. You have almost as many bacteria just on the surface of your skin as you do human cells. Okay, that's a lot. We want those bacteria to be happy, and the sebum is one of the things that we can give those cells to make them nice and happy. Now, the reason we want those good bacteria on our skin, though, is so that if we have 1 or 2 or even a few dozen bad bacteria land on our skin, they're basically landing inside a hostile army, okay? They're landing in a place where, like, sure, they are a bacteria and they're mean and they could be potentially angry, but they're outnumbered by the things that don't bother us at all, okay? Which means they're gonna have a hard time getting a foothold and thus have a hard time starting to cause an infection or anything like that, in large part because of our native stuff, okay? Now, that oil on our skin is also important for, like I said, holding those cells and stuff together. If you've ever noticed, if you say multiple showers in a day or something like that because you got dirty or wash your hands too much, that everything, your skin starts to feel really dry. And when that happens, you'll also notice that your skin tends to flake off more. You get a little bit sort of like ashy. Okay. Basically, you're going to notice that your skin gets dry, it gets really pale, skin cells start flaking off more, and you can sometimes see it. Okay. You're easier to scratch, all that fun stuff. And all of that is because it's losing the lubrication of the oil that we're producing from our sebaceous gland. Okay. Now, prevention of water loss and gain, once again, is going to come from our layers of cells, shingles on the house kind of thing. More layers of shingles means we're going to have more protection from there. But then we're also going to be dealing with vitamin D synthesis. Okay, and vitamin D synthesis is fun because this is going to allow us to turn something called calcitriol, or make calcitriol, which is going to help us absorb things like calcium and phosphate from our food. Calcium and phosphate are going to be two very, very important minerals. Calcium because it's in our bones. It also helps our muscles function. Phosphate because it's in basically everything. Adenosine triphosphate, it's also in our DNA backbones. We use it for a bunch of stuff. Okay. We need to do this to allow us to regulate things like our calcium levels. Vitamin D is very, very important. However, we can't get vitamin D without UV radiation. You have to get some amount of UV radiation in order for us to make vitamin D. Once we make vitamin D, then we can make this calcitriol. Without the vitamin D, we can't make the calcitriol, which means you can eat all the calcium that you want and you're not going to get anything out of it. You simply won't absorb it. So we need the sunlight to allow us to do that. However, we also tend to cheat on this. We're inside right now. These lights, while bright, are doing nothing for us for making UV radiation, which is great because it means we're not going to get skin cancer. But it's bad in that we're not actually making our vitamin D or all the vitamin D that we need. So once people started getting kind of low on vitamin D because we were spending so much more time inside, we started supplementing vitamin D into a couple of particular places. Anyone know where we tend to supplement vitamin D the most? I'll give you a hint. There's a lot of calcium in it. No, we need it for strong bones. So what are we always told to do if you need to strengthen your bones? Milk. Exactly. Milk is where we tend to supplement our vitamin D. Milk is a great place to get calcium. And if we add the vitamin D to it, you don't even have to do anything extra. All of a sudden, you're getting your vitamin D and your calcium in the same package. That's actually why we put vitamin D in the milk, is because it basically says, hey, here's one step to get you to the stronger bones and stuff like that we need, rather than putting it in something else like, oh, no, you have to drink this drink and then drink your milk. That just doesn't make sense. People wouldn't do that. The easier thing is just have them do one thing. So we've added vitamin D to the milk. So that's where they get their calcium. Or orange juice, because now you can find that in like some orange juice brands will do vitamin D and calcium additions to those to basically take the place of milk and stuff like that. Since nowadays, a lot of people are drinking less milk than they used to. Now, secretion and absorption is also very important. We need to secrete some stuff onto the skin. This is primarily during sweat, which means we need some sweat glands. We'll talk about those here in a second. Absorption is also going to be important. We will absorb some things through the skin, but it's actually a fairly minor role, like very, very minor. Immune function we've talked about. Temperature regulation is kind of part of secretion. Talk about sweat. So we'll talk about those here in just a second. All right, now, we also have nails. Nails are very, very important. Nails are here to protect the ends of our fingers. Like I can sit here and jam my fingers into this table a lot, and nothing terribly bad is happening to my fingers. Even though if you were to look at the bones of my fingers, you would see that they are, tiny and sharp. That much force going through the ends of my fingers would actually be enough to take that bone and drive it through it. Does that sound fun? No, it does not at all. Sounds actually like something out of a horror movie. Okay. It doesn't happen because our fingernails are here. Our fingernails provide some strength to protect the ends of the bones. Okay. So they basically have a bunch of surface area because of all the skin attached to them here. So they are held in place so I can put some force on them and they're not bending back and they're not allowing the bones to push through. Okay. They're also important to provide counter pressure. So whenever you pick something up, all of this stuff down here is soft. Okay. Whenever you would try to pick something up, we'd basically be taking all this soft tissue and pressing it against the bone. And you're not actually going to be able to generate all that much force through that particular place because all that soft tissue is going to try and move. So we actually need something to provide counter pressure, and the counter pressure here is going to be provided by the nails. This is why if you touch something, you'll notice that you can pick up something with your fingertips and put some pressure on it. You'll actually see them first turn this kind of dark red color as the blood is getting pushed directly up against the fingernail. And then if you continue pressing really hard, it'll turn white. It's turning white because you're actually putting so much pressure on it from the skin underneath that it's actually forcing all of the blood out of those tissues. Okay. So that's why you kind of white knuckle, or like those fingernails will turn white whenever you're grabbing something really, really, really hard. But your nails are also important because different types of health issues can actually sometimes be diagnosed or at least indicated in our nail health. So fun stuff like fungal infections, you can usually see this in terms of color changes and stuff in the nails, or seeing the nails turn smooth, or spoon shaped, turning yellow. These are all different things that can happen to our nails based off of other characteristics, other things that are happening, not necessarily in the nails, but just in our overall health. So that's why looking at the nails can be important. Now, hair is also going to be very important. One of the main reasons that hair is important is because it is there to protect, or not protect us, it is there to provide us with sensory perception. Okay. When a hair moves, connected to the follicle of every hair is a really sensitive bundle of nerves. When that hair moves, it sends a signal to our brain that says something is touching us. When oftentimes that thing isn't actually touching us, it's actually just touching the hairs. So like if a bug lands on your arm, usually it's not even touching the surface of your skin. It's usually just landing on the hairs themselves. Just simply moving the hairs is enough to say, hey, there's something on me. Okay. And you'll elicit some sort of response from there. The same thing goes for a lot of the body hairs, like a lot of your body hairs. So like whenever you put on a shirt, you'll notice that your shirt is there for a couple seconds and then you just kind of ignore it. That sensation goes away, but it's the hairs that are feeling that sort of sensation. And it's simply because it moves the hair, sends a signal that says, hey, I am being touched. Okay. Now, connected to the hairs is a muscle. We call that the erector pili. The erector pili muscle is there to raise the hair follicle. Now, raising our hair follicles does one thing kind of useful. It can act as a signal that says, hey, this person is scared. Okay, so like if you ever look at someone and you see that the back of their neck is covered in goosebumps, then you know that they are currently in their fight or flight scenario and are probably not thinking at their clearest. Okay, it's just like a dog that has kind of raised its hackles. That's really it. And that's marginal at best. Okay, a lot of people will sometimes say, like, oh no, you have goosebumps to keep you warm. No. Okay. It won't. It won't because we just simply don't have enough hair. Now, if you were to walk outside right now and find one of the dove or one of the pigeons just sitting up on a power line or something like that, they're going to be super fluffy. Okay. It's not that they're fat right now because they're actually having a hard time finding food. Instead, they're just super puffy looking because they're holding their feathers out. Okay. They're holding their feathers out like a goose. Okay. That's goosebumps. They're holding their feathers out so that we can trap a bunch of air in between the feather and the skin. Their skin has all the blood vessels, so it warms up this air. So it's basically like them putting on a jacket. Okay. But that is because they have enough feathers to actually trap air in between their feather and their skin. Your dog, your cows, your cats all have that same thing. Like if you notice, like when your dog goes outside in the morning and they're cold, one of the first things they'll do is they'll shake. They'll walk outside, realize it's cold, and then you'll see them shake. After they shake, all of a sudden they're fluffy. They do that so they can trap a bunch of air underneath their fur so that they can stay warm. It's basically their version of putting on a jacket. We do not have dense fur. We cannot trap air underneath our hair, which means even if I raise all these hairs straight up, nothing happens. What really happens is I'm actually going to increase the surface area that I have exposed to the outside environment, so I'm going to get colder. So don't y'all dare tell me that one of the functions of goosebumps or the functions of erector pili is to give us goosebumps and make us warmer. That does not make us warmer. That is actually an artifact of the fact that we are mammals, and all mammals can do this. Ours, it's just useless. This is what we call a vestigial trait. This is just as useful as your tail, which you have. It's just inside your skin, so you can't see it anymore. Okay? It's just a vestigial trait. Soapbox gone. Please don't tell me that we have goosebumps to keep us warm. It makes me mad every time I see it. The fun bit is that it also is a very big clue that someone is using AI to do stuff, because the AI, like the little writing programs, GPT, thinks that we have goosebumps and that those erector pili are there to give us goosebumps to make us warm, because it can't distinguish between for humans and not humans. So it's also a big clue that people are cheating. Okay. So don't do that. Hair color is going to come from, once again, melanin, lots of different types of melanin. In different concentrations going to lead to the gamut of hair colors that we're going to tend to see. All right. Then we have some sweat glands. Okay, so sweat glands are going to produce, well, sweat. Sweat is mostly going to be composed of water. It'll also have a few salts in it. The whole idea here, though, is that we're going to put water up here, and then we're going to send a bunch of blood underneath. Okay, by putting a bunch of water on the surface and then blood underneath, the heat then is going to get transferred from the blood to the water, and we're going to have that water evaporate, and we're going to cool off. Okay, so we're going to call this evaporative cooling. So we will tend to have flushed skin. So we're going to put additional blood up here, getting it close to the surface. So we have more blood close to the surface to the outside. So we'll hopefully cool it that way. But we're also now going to put a bunch of water in between so that that water will evaporate, pulling heat from the blood and allowing us to cool off. Okay, that's the whole idea here. So we're going to dilate the vessels in the skin so that we can get additional blood to the surface, so that we can get additional heat out through the surface of the skin. That's why when you're hot, or when people get hot, you'll tend to see them kind of flush. Their cheeks will get red, their foreheads will get red. And that usually happens even before they start sweating. Okay. The opposite of that is also true. Whenever it's cold outside, people will tend to get somewhat pale. Okay. Their skins will get pale in general because they're basically trying to pull blood away from the surface of the skin, because blood at the surface is losing temp. And that's not what we want to do. Okay. Here we have our sebaceous glands. All right. All right. So that's really it as far as the anatomy is concerned. So I'll just kind of give you all a little bit of time to kind of look at the models and everything. So does anyone have any questions about any of this stuff before you start looking at skin models? Yes.
So, what about people with alopecia? Like,
Okay. Trying to find it, sorry. I'm honestly having a moment with even the definition of alopecia. I know I saw it. Where'd it go? Like I saw it too, because I saw the acne and I thought I was stopping for it. There it is. Oh, okay. So alopecia, like it says here, is an autoimmune disorder. What this means is that our immune cells start to attack those structures. So your hair follicles are exposed to the outside environment. So because of that, we need to monitor them fairly closely, because that is a potential entry point. That's a weak spot through the skin. So if something were to kind of grab on those hair follicles, it could actually work its way all the way down into the dermis, which is not what we want, right? So we monitor those things fairly closely with our immune cells so that we can say, hey, is this self, is this not self? But what will happen a lot of times, and this is the case in really all of our autoimmune diseases, is that those immune cells that are kind of monitoring for potential pathogens start to recognize or start to flag your own cells as pathogens. Okay. And when that happens, that basically flags them for destruction, and they will start attacking, or your body starts attacking your own cells and start killing those off. Now, in the case of something like alopecia erecta, where they are attacking the hair follicles, well, what this means is that every time one of those attacks occurs, they're going to be attacking those hair follicles, which means those hair follicles will be destroyed or won't grow. The hair follicles will essentially die out, and you're going to be left with a spot without hair. Okay. And if that happens in particular places, you're going to end up with these kind of spotty bits of baldness in various places. Sometimes it's on the head, but there are, like it says, other places on the body and some stuff like that. Does that make sense? So it's basically just your immune cells start to say, hey, hair follicle, you're a bad guy, and start attacking that, even though it's still us. But that's actually how all autoimmune diseases work, whether it's arthritis or different particular types of arthritis. There's lots of different autoimmune diseases where that tends to be the case. Allergies is kind of the same way in a lot of cases, where it's our immune system starts attacking our own cells because they're bored. We live in a very sterile environment, so those types of diseases or those types of disorders are actually getting more and more common. As our environments are getting more sterile, our immune systems are getting more bored more often. So we're actually seeing an increase in the number of these kind of autoimmune things, just simply because they don't have anything to do. Everybody good? All right. So there are models on all the tables where you can kind of look at these various structures. So make sure you can find the sweat glands, find the erector pili, find the hairs, find the various layers of the epidermis, and so on and so on and so on. Everybody good? All right, let's get to it. That's why I kind of kept poking my head while I was going through the same place. That makes a lot of sense. But this right here, I had a part of it. Because I never used it on there. We never use it except for circumstances like this. That's good. Yeah. John, you doing all right? This was actually a good time for you to do the Integumentary System Virtual Lab. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Soon. I'm already like halfway done with the stuff that's been submitted, at least prior to class. But I will usually wait and post them all together. But my goal is Fridays. Like that's usually my goal is Fridays. Sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later. Good. Mm-hmm. Okay. Questions?
One.
Shoot.
I was just curious, like one of the issues I don't tell my skin,
Mhm.
and so when I take it until it hurts, like what am I hitting?
You're getting to basically complete living layers. So like the same thing like when I started scratching here, like you can see a couple of marks here, like where it's red and puckery. That's because I basically went through all of the bits. So I basically scratched this off and I had the crystal layer. I've had my notes for too long to do that particular demonstration. Doing good? That's a sensory receptor. So this, and this are basically all different views of the same structure. Uh, well, actually, that's a hair. But no, this is just a sensory receptor. This senses deep pressure and deep vibration. So like, we need to, like, whenever we're sensing stuff, we need to be able to tell the difference between something just lightly touching our skin, something kind of grazing our skin, something pushing on us a little bit versus that, right? Those are really good at sensing like the grab. Okay, so that sort of distinctive deep pressure is going to come from this. That's called a Pacinian corpuscle or a lamellated corpuscle. We're going to talk more about those, or we're going to talk about the different individual receptors once we get to the chapter 16. Once we get to the senses. Mm-hmm. This is just one of the segments. Okay. Yeah. So what is it? So notice that like this one is only going to be found in regions of thick skin. This one's only going to be found in regions of thin skin. Okay. So that's going to make them a little bit different. That coil is basically just there to make sure it extend all the way out. Okay. Yeah. So good. Have you already submitted your exams?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
It doesn't attendance.
I thought I submitted. uh, I did that one like 3 times. Because I just kept forgetting that I did it.
And it's just not showing completed.
I mean. Could be, I mean, my wife likes this, and also I need to say what I thought, so. Didn't be the fact that.
Yeah. It could also just be like, did you do it on, say, today by chance? No. Like sometimes when it's late at all, it kind of does that. All right, what's your name? How enzymes work? Enzyme activity?
Of, effective pH.
It's weird. Mm-mm. I mean, it's fine. Like, I trust you. It's fine. Like, that's weird. But like, here, I'll show you what I'm looking at. So, this is the like what you've done here. So you read?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it has its functional buffers, enzyme activity. diffusion red blood cells. It's like, it's almost like it's not letting you finish it. I wonder, like not submit.
Maybe.
So. Oh, wait, hold on. I bet that's what it is. It doesn't say you have any assignments in progress, but that's probably what it is. Is that it's probably gotten to like the last screen and then timed out or something like that. So yeah. Here we go. There's also still time to change.
Teachers, oh no, I was just wondering.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we're taking one exam now.
Oh no, I was just wondering. Yeah, I was wondering. For some reason, I remember seeing something different.
So good.
I have a question about the nails. So, when you said about nails, what happens if we don't have the nails?
We don't have our nails.
Uh-huh.
So if we don't have our nails, like you still have a little bit of fur in the skin there, kind of where the nail used to be, kind of like where the nail bed is. You get some protection, but you'll notice like you end up with the inability to generate as much force for your fingers. Like it just, you'll have a harder time doing it. It tends to be more painful because the force isn't going to be as spread out.
Oh,
And
okay.
then the same thing goes for like for the protection for fingers. Like if you've ever not had a nail, like say you had one get torn off for some reason, like that digit is going to be sensitive for a while. Yeah, like I lost a big toe one time, and it's you don't realize how much stuff you touch with your toes until you don't have a nail anymore, and you become very aware of how clumsy you are.
Oh, wow.
Like it is, like it's like as much pain as like jamming your finger kind of is. It feels kind of like that multiple times a day. It's not fun.
Oh, okay.
Yep. No. Nope. It is. It not very entertaining at all. Not having them. Yep. Yeah, it takes a long time. And it only grows from the base. So like so the nails are only going to grow from the root right here. So the nail root is actually right here and it extends underneath this little flap of skin. So you might call it cuticle. So it's underneath there. That's where that growth is actually coming. So the nail matrix that's making new stuff is all the way back here. So if you have an injury right here, you basically have to wait until that whole region of nail gets pushed out of the way. So like say you break one or something like that, it can take months and months and months just for you to like slowly see the nail get pushed out the end. And then it'll go away. And that's one of the reasons there's such a good barometer for overall health is because like if you look at someone's nails and you see like some pitting and stuff like right here, but not back here, whatever deficiency it was that was causing this particular issue, if you don't see it further back, that means they've resolved that and have been able to kind of move forward from it. But if you see them just start to appear right here, then that tells you, oh, wait, no, hey, we do have a problem. Like we've got some sort of vitamin deficiency or disease or like some sort of issue that needs to be repaired. Just because, and it can just take a long time to see it. So you can use it as a nice kind of, not just a current like health barometer, but also like a measure of kind of past health as well. You'll see it a lot of times like with people that are on various drugs and stuff like that. You'll actually see it like you can see their drug use history kind of in their fingernails just because of the effects that it'll have on the nails themselves.
What is the lunula is for? Because there's some people they don't have it. There's some people that they do have it. The lunula.
It's just one of those little light structures from essentially the extension of the cuticle. It's basically just a binding structure between the nail and the nail bed. I don't really know if there's any true function to it. I would expect that everybody would, but once again, there's lots of variants. Not everybody even has two kidneys, so something like that they might not. So yeah, I would imagine that it's just a thicker portion of the nail connecting to a thinner portion of blood vessels and stuff like that. So it's not getting as much friction. Variants.
They get someone with cancer or something.
Well, sometimes yes, but no, there are some people that are just born with one kidney. Like one of our faculty members was born with just one kidney, and he didn't know it until he like went in for like a random like CT or X-ray or something like that for something else. And the doctor was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, you only have one kidney." Yeah, it's fine. I mean, if you lose that one kidney, then we have a problem. But like, no, like all of us in here can operate off of one of our kidneys just fine. Like having a spare is great, but it's in large part a spare. Like it lessens the load on the other one. So like when you only have one, you are more prone to having issues with that one kidney than someone that has two. But that's just because it's putting a lot of pressure on that one. So like those folks have to be more careful with taking right dosages of medications and like all kinds of fun stuff because all of that stuff puts stress on your kidneys. And so those people have to be a little bit more aware of that, but that's it. So cancer is at its core is caused by mutations in various genes that cause the cell to grow uncontrollably and not stop. Whenever they do that, like whenever those cells start to grow, like all of our cells are not constantly growing all the time. Many of them are in different parts of the cell cycle, so they're not worried about growing. And because of that, like when those cells are growing, they're not doing the functions that those cells in that tissue are supposed to be doing. And then you couple that with the fact that we have limited space literally everywhere. So when those cells are growing, they can start to occlude other things and make it hard for your other tissues to do their jobs. And if those jobs aren't important, that can lead to kind of additive problems, like kind of a little snowball effect of like, oh, we don't have enough of this. Now we don't have enough of this. Now we don't have enough of this. And you start to run into problems. In kidneys, because your kidneys act as a filtering agent, so they're filtering things based off of stuff like size and charge. Whenever you end up with, we'll say like someone takes 2 or 3 times the supposed to be dose of something like a Tylenol or something like that. That can put a lot of stress on those tubules because they're going to be trying, like it messes with their absorption and secretion rates and stuff like that. So that can lead to problems. And sometimes those problems can lead, like various chemicals can cause mutations or lead to mutations and stuff like that. So you can see an increased rate of some of those problems. Like people that drink are more likely to have cancers of their liver. Like not just cirrhosis of their liver, they're more likely to develop cancers there. People that smoke are more likely to have cancers of their lungs, just because of chemical exposures. But essentially those chemicals can go in there and they make it harder for the DNA to repair itself. And if you accrue enough mutations in those spots that tell the cells to die when they're doing something that they're not supposed to do, that's when those cells will grow and grow and grow, and you lead to all the problems that cancer has. But it boils down to changes in the DNA. And it's usually due to some sort of environmental factor. Cancer is no fun. Cancer is also never going to be beat because we have 4.9 billion places for it to get messed up. So they're all going to be a little different. Sorry for that sunny outlook on my. That's what it is. Have a good one.
No, I'm gonna work.
Oh, that's no fun. I'm absent, so don't feel too guilty. Although I love my job. That's fine. Have a good one. So even that is optional. This class can be attended either live in person, live via Zoom, or just watching videos after the fact.
Okay.
So all of that stuff is fine. So if you're ever at work or sick or whatever like that, you don't have to worry about it or anything like that.
I'm about to start working and my shift is like 1 to 6, but we get out at 1:20.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
they were willing to work with my
Mhm.
schedule, but
Yeah.
we do need the money. So
Yeah, I understand. No, we're good.
okay. Thank you.
Hello, hello.